What's up, y'all? This is Emmanuel live at the NPEA Conference here in Philadelphia, and I'm here with a special guest. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, let them know where you're from and what you represent?
Sure. How's it going, everybody? My name is Janine Wright. I'm the K-16 Partnerships Manager at FEND, which stands for Philadelphia Higher Education Network for Neighborhood Development. Happy to be here.
So, Janine, tell us what brought you here today, and why are you here?
Well, obviously to see you all, but primarily because I think anytime you can get together with like-minded folks professionally, see what's happening in the field, see what things you can borrow from, hear about other things that are happening around the country that might be effective in Philadelphia, you have to show up. And so that's really the primary reason that I came for this conference this week.
Awesome. And you're representing FEND. They're friends of Philly Goes to College. We always posting y'all stuff, y'all events, and tell us about FEND. Tell us more about the work you do at FEND. And for those that never heard of FEND before, just give them a little breakdown of who they are and what they do.
Sure. So FEND is a consortium of about 25 colleges and universities in the Philly area. We're about 30 years old, and our job, really, we're housed at Penn, but we work with a wide variety of colleges and universities. And our primary work with them is to help connect them to the K-16 schools in Philadelphia, rather the K-12 schools in Philadelphia. They themselves would be the 12 to 16 part of it. But anytime folks want to build capacity around how to best work with communities and other schools, we try to broker that experience. So if a university says, hey, we have some volunteers who want to go into schools, what would you suggest? If there's schools that say we need folks from the university to community to come in, how could we do that? We try to sort of be a matchmaker with both of those things. So a large part of, for example, my work in the K-16 world is to not only broker those relationships, but to highlight those issues that are important for folks who are looking to make those kinds of matches. So we do all kinds of stuff. We have newsletters that go out, we have webinars that we do, we have events that we do, all usually focused on topics of interest to people who want to work with K-12 schools and with colleges at the same time.
So the work is like connecting the community to the schools and finding a way for them to have like just a bridge, essentially, like bridging them, because that's important. You're in the middle of you're like in the middle of somewhere in Philly, and then you're not even in tune with the community. That could be interesting. Right. Can you speak more on the importance of having that community relationship for those out here that are watching that are practitioners, that are admin, that are like, they don't know how to thread that needle, so to speak?
Yeah, in fact, you kind of hit it on the head because one of our slogans is connecting college with community. Right. And I think the importance of that is that we have, as you know, so many colleges and universities in the Philadelphia area, and they have to be good neighbors, right? That's one of the things that we try to emphasize. It's like you don't exist on a little island. You don't show up just when you need to study something or, that sort of thing. We want the relationships to be mutually beneficial. So you'll get what you need as a college, but the schools will get what they need also. So anybody on either side of that coin should be really focusing on how to be a good neighbor within that community, within the city. And so we try to kind of push that point on both sides. So if you're an administrator at either a high school or an elementary school or a college and you're thinking, why would I get involved? As a college side, those are the folks that are going to be coming to your schools in a few years. And on the K-12 side, these are the folks that you want your young people to be embraced by when they do get there. And so, again, the whole thing about being good neighbors and good stewards of education is something that we really try to push and emphasize.
That's so awesome to hear. And speaking of like being a good neighbor, I mean, it's kind of related. Like, can you speak to like the importance of students? Because you've obviously interfaced with the schools in Philly, right? Can you speak to the importance of just for students to stay in Philadelphia? Why should they choose a school in Philadelphia, or why should they stay home instead of branching out elsewhere?
Well, I think obviously, and part of my background is both in admissions and long time in college access. So one of the things that I always say to students and families is the first thing is you want to make a good match, right? And there are a lot of very good schools in Philadelphia. Now, maybe your spirit and your mind is leading you elsewhere. That's fine too. But if you want to have a good match in Philly, there are plenty of opportunities for you to choose from. And I think one of the benefits is that the local higher education institutions, they know Philadelphia schools, right? So if you're coming from a school that maybe doesn't have um, all the AP courses that a college would want. They know that because they're in the backyard. So maybe you could take another kind of course, or you could take an enrichment course, or something that they won't penalize you for because they're more familiar with the schools in the area. So it's definitely worth checking out if you're in Philly and you're looking to go to school somewhere.
Very, very good. Like a UPenn or a Temple, like what are they looking for in a student from Philadelphia to come to their school versus they're looking elsewhere, taking candidates from all over the nation?
I think it's less about what specifically they're looking for from Philadelphia students because they are looking for primarily the same things no matter who they're bringing in. But I do think that there are some schools that pay a little more attention to Philadelphia. So in that regard, they might have a particular scholarship that's just for Philadelphia students. They might have a particular program that's just for Philadelphia students. So when you're looking to go to a school in the area, those are the things that you should be checking in on. There are schools that now have what they call promise scholarships just for school students in Philadelphia area. So that's something that would be available to Philly students that's not available if you're from Delaware or Arkansas or wherever. So those are the kinds of things that I think are a little bit extra special with some of the schools here locally.
Okay, that's really great. Yeah, could you like just off the top name some of the schools that do that, those promise scholarships, or that are specifically like, I know about Temple. Let me not spoil it, but I'll let you.
Don't steal my thunder.
No.
Sure. So Temple University that we mentioned, they've got a promise scholarship. Drexel University actually now has a scholarship where if you complete 2 years at a community college in Pennsylvania, any school in Pennsylvania, you can go to Drexel for half price.
Whoa.
So that's what I mean about you really have to look and see what local schools are offering because sometimes being a Philadelphia student gives you an advantage in that way that you might not get if you're coming from somewhere else.
So good. Half off admission to Drexel. Y'all better look into that. All right, so let's dig in a little bit more on the session that y'all having today.
Okay.
So, FEND has been a key force in education equity for years. How does the work that's going on with CASE fit into FEND's higher education partnership in Philadelphia?
I think the work of CASE and FEND really blend well. CASE is a collective effort, a citywide collective effort, and FEND is basically a network of networks. So we have a network of higher education institutions. We have a network of civic engagement officers at the local schools. We have a network of chief diversity officers at local colleges and communities. So we sort of pride ourselves on bringing folks together. Convening is one of our strong suits. And we joke about we're professional eavesdroppers. If we hear that you're doing something great that somebody over here should know about, we want to make sure you all get connected. And so the basic premise of CASE, which is about bringing folks together for a common good, really appealed to us. My own background is in college access, so I'm always wanting to be involved in those conversations. And as an organization, we have a college success network, we have a K-16 network, so it just made perfect sense for us to be involved.
All right. And if I'm putting you on the spot, just let me know. But could you just give people just a brief understanding of what CASE is?
Right, so CASE is the College Access and Success Ecosystem, and it is a citywide initiative to move young people not only to college, but through college and into a job that will pay a family-sustaining wage, right? So it's, Philadelphia Education Fund is the backbone organization for it. We work a lot with Philadelphia Education Fund. I used to be at Philadelphia Education Fund. Yes, I directed the college access program there many years ago. So there's lots of synergies, lots of connections. But what we really appreciated about CASE is this idea that they would bring so many different people to the table, right? So not just colleges, not just organizations that are doing college access work, but also the School District of Philadelphia, which is key. You have to have the district at the table in order to move anything forward. A lot of different organizations, charter schools, college access organizations, colleges, et cetera. So having all of those people in the room mean that you can really have a conversation, because all the different pieces that you're talking about, somebody at that table is connected to it.
That's a fact.
So.
That's a fact. And the piece that you mentioned about going f- going from high school into college and then into a career. When you think about the work that y'all are doing and then like the impact that's going to have on students, what can students be doing now? What could they be engaged in right now to help them kind of chart that path? You know what I mean? Because it's, for some students, they're like, I'm not even thinking about what I want to be when I grow up. I'm just trying to I'm just trying to survive this homework assignment. But for just if you can give a quick answer on that, on what should students be thinking about considering the work that FEND does, considering the work that CASE does?
I think a couple of things that students can be thinking about now. One is that preparing for college or preparing for a job after high school, those are not mutually exclusive things, right? Those things are connected. No matter what you do, you're going to have to critically think. You're going to have to lead from wherever you are, right? Because we're not trying to talk about a bunch of followers. We're talking about folks who will lead and move themselves forward. You're going to have to interact with people. You're going to have to know how to effectively communicate. So those aren't separate tracks, right? You have to do all those things no matter what you do next. So I think for students, the most important thing is to think about it in terms of, I need to prepare myself for whatever comes next, whatever that is. And don't take yourself off the table. You know what I mean? If you don't know what you want to do, that just means that the world is wide open to you. It doesn't mean that you don't have a path. You just haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
So for a young person, one of the things that I would say is, preparing yourself to be whatever you're going to be, think about it as though you want to choose from an unlimited menu.
Wow.
Of things, right? So you're not just going to have a little postcard menu. You're going to have the big giant menu that you get, that you keep flipping pages. And that's what doing your best, giving your all, showing up, which is 90% of the battle.
Thanks.
Be at school, do the things you're supposed to do, find things that interest you, right? Join clubs. If they don't have a club that you like, start a club, right? Because one of the things that we also want young people to do is realize that they can be captains of their own destiny in a lot of ways. So again, if they don't have that club you like, if you're into whatever it is, robotics, drones, chess, anything, see if you can find 2 or 3 other people and a teacher who are going to be the folks that make the club with you, and do that, because that not only shows that you are interested in doing something, you have an interest, you have a passion, but it shows leadership, it shows initiative, right? Those are the kinds of things that colleges and jobs are looking for.
That's a fact.
So that's the kind of thing that I would advise young people. Do all of those things and create your own path while you're doing it.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome. That's like really good advice for the youth out there. How about some words of wisdom for parents? Like they have a child who's, parents are like they want to make sure their kids are okay. They don't want them to make the same mistakes that they made, but at the same time, the child needs to chart their own path. And considering the work that FEND does and just the whole ecosystem of pushing these kids through from high school to career, what kind of words of advice could you give to parents to kind of tame their worries or their anxiety?
Well, as a parent myself of a college-age student, right, of 2, in fact, I know that you never really all the way tame your anxieties. But I think one of the things that's been helpful for me, and I know that my mom worried about this. I'm the first in my family to go to college.
Wow.
So I know that she had her worries. And even though my son had kind of more of a head start, I still have my worries, of course, right, because that's my son. But I think for parents, one of the things that that I would advise is keep asking questions, right? College going, I think, especially for young people who are the first in their families to go, it's a family affair.
Yeah.
It's not just one person, right? So as a parent, you obviously are going to have questions. Don't be afraid to ask those questions, to sort of, if you don't understand the answer, keep pushing for that answer. Find someone who can help you kind of navigate and translate what's going on there. Might be somebody at your child's school, might be somebody at your child's college access program, might be somebody at the college that you're looking at, but definitely make that connection. It's a lot easier to talk to somebody when you feel like you have a connection with them than just be a faceless email or a phone call.
Yeah,
Try to get that same person every time you call back, every time you reach out. And a lot of parents get scared off at the thought of tuition or money or loans and all of that. And I don't want to, like people often say, oh, there's so many scholarships and they leave money on the table. Yeah, okay. To some extent, that is true. But the bigger issue is that there are a lot of places and a lot of schools where you can get a package that's favorable for your young person. And that's part of that making a good match, right? Sometimes it may not work out in your favor, and we have to accept that too, right? You may be like, so and so, this is a school that you wanted. The financial aid is not quite what we want, but what's your B and C plan? Let's see if we can get those together because we can work something out somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest thing that parents are often afraid about, besides their child going away to school and what that's going to be like, is just how are we going to afford this? And so I think it's never too early to think about, what does that look like? There are a lot of great organizations in Philly that can help you with how do I save? What kinds of scholarships do I do? What is it about loans? How can I make sure I'm not taking out too much?
Right.
So take advantage of the resources that you have and ask your child's counselor, ask your child's college access person where I can find these resources and keep working with them until you're satisfied as well.
That's good. That is really, really good. I like what you're talking about, like the proactive approach. Like, yeah, go ahead and do your Googles. Like, we have a series called It Takes a Village, and it's like, we always say like the starting lineup with a college going experience, your mom, your dad, your uncle, your cousin. So everyone should be involved. Like you said, you going to school, we all going to school with you. Exactly. You know what I mean? That makes a lot of sense. All right, affordability is a huge barrier for many students. How is CASE working with partners to align financial aid strategies and expand access to funding resources?
Well, I think it's a huge question, right? But I think the first thing that CASE is doing is putting that information out there, right? We've had a couple of events where we talk about this is what financial aid looks like. This is how you navigate those kind of more complex situations. Here's places you can go to get help with your financial aid forms and so forth. And I think probably the next step to that will be really working with colleges and schools in the area to see what can be done about ensuring that parents get this information early and often, more early and more often than they already do, to ensure that that happens. Some of it is just about, funding can be finite. Schools get a certain amount that they give out, and that's just what it is. But again, as parents and as advocates for young people, you can still push and say, you know what, can you do anything else for me? And a lot of folks don't understand that that's available to them. And so I think that's probably the next big question for CASE to really be looking at in terms of financial aid is how do you ensure that families understand what's available to them and what sort of is their right to do in terms of pushing back and seeing if they can get even additional funds.
That's such a good point. I was talking to a student. I was like, I was in that financial aid office. I thought it was bursar. I didn't know there was another level. And that was the financial aid office, and that's how I was able to stay in schools because I was there. They knew me. I got favor. So sometimes showing up and people seeing you, that's totally different. Like what you said earlier. Exactly. That's really good. All right. Last question on this front. For educators, policymakers, and community leaders looking to get involved, how can they support FEND's work and be a part of the CASE initiative?
I think the first thing folks can do to be a part of what FEND is doing is to sign up for our newsletter. We have an e-newsletter that goes out every week. They can do that at FEND.org, PHENND.org. It goes out to about 7,000 people, and it's everything from sort of highlighting events that we host, but we also use it as kind of a community bulletin board. So we also put in what other organizations are doing, what grants are available, what workshops are coming up. We have like a jobs board in there. So all sorts of different things. People can find out, when it's time for LIHEAP and they need to get, a grant to help with their winter bills, like all kinds of community things are in there. So that's kind of the first step for folks is to sign up for that newsletter, because the very first section of it will be all the different things that FEND is doing and involved in, so that you could have a better sense of what might sort of be of interest to you, and then you can kind of click in from there.
Awesome. That's great. All right, so we're gonna hit you with some quick fire questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. Let's get it. All right, so first question is, what college did you attend?
Temple University, 2 times, bachelor's and master's degree. Go Owls.
Oh, what was your major at Temple?
Undergraduate, it was communications, and graduate, it was urban education.
Okay. What made you choose those majors?
Well, undergraduate, I love to write, and I hated math, to be perfectly frank. And I didn't really have to take any math undergraduate, so that's what I was about. When I went for graduate school, I was already involved in college access work, so the urban education program really spoke to me.
Gotcha. Favorite college memory?
Ooh, I think probably, well, there's 2. My undergraduate graduation, because it was the first time my family got to see somebody graduate. And that just, mom, grandma, the whole 9. So that was just a really beautiful moment for the family. And then just the connections and the friends that I made there that I'm still friends with. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. For the student out there who's also a first generation, and for a parent as a first generation, any like gems or jewels you can give them based on your experience?
I think for other first-gen students and families, something I said earlier, making those connections, like definitely having that person or those people that you connect with. Just, I'll tell you a story that it's a sad story, but it's about the power of connection. When I was in graduate school, I had that same mentality because I'd never been to graduate school before, never really knew too many people who had. My mom passed when I was in graduate school, and the secretary in the dean's office helped me get together with a funeral home because we had that connection, and I didn't know what to do. I was just like, I need some help. And she said, I got you. And so that's what I mean about the power of connection. And that's an extreme example.
Right.
But it's not an unusual example, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that connection is so key. If you can say one thing to your high school self, what would that be? And this time you grab the mic and you can look at them. And
If I could say one thing to my high school self, I would say, don't be afraid. Keep moving forward, and it's going to work out, and you're going to be fine. So.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Janine. That was awesome. Appreciate you. That's a wrap. All right.